starting to get the personal statement and everything together. I know that for the personal statement, it's good to kind of go off of one experience or story, something that has, kind of a learning lesson to it, I guess, to use for the personal statement. I just wanted to know if you could add on to that point for the personal statement writing.
It doesn't necessarily have to involve that, but some great statements do. I would instead start with some personal experience you've had that could illustrate positive qualities and also show why law school in particular. So as you think about your resume or your time in college or your work experience, volunteer work, or just personal anecdotes, does anything come to mind as a compelling story that you would want to tell?
Yes. So I went to grad school after undergrad. So I did kind of want to use something from that to write the personal statement, I guess, just in terms of, building on to undergrad experiences, building on to undergrad education, to kind of use that to stand out in a way. But other than that, I don't really know what more to add from there.
Okay. Well, in your grad program, did you do any kind of particular research that might have been legal in nature or relate to the law in some way?
No. So it was a master's in English literature. So it was more so like I did write a thesis at the end, kind of like as a culmination to the program, but nothing was legal in nature.
Okay. Well, I'm speaking very broadly here because there are things like analyzing difficult, dense text, drawing connections between things, interpreting situations in terms of general principles.
Right. That's what I wanted to kind of go off of for sure, because that's, what I excelled at for those 2 years and what I kind of polished and perfected. So I did want to use that probably to kind of, start up the personal statement.
Yeah, you could certainly do that.
Yeah. Okay. I think, and then in terms of, I wanted to ask other questions kind of about, is it okay if I ask other than the personal statement?
Yeah, sure.
So I also, like I said, I went to grad school, and so my letters of recommendation, could they be from grad school professors?
Sure, absolutely. They can be from professors and they can also be from employers. It's good to have a mix if you can, but the academic is actually a little bit more important a lot of the time because law school is academic in nature.
So the professors rather than the employers?
No, I'm saying that both are good. If you can get one of each or two of one type and one of the other, that's great.
Okay.
But overall, the academic is typically more important because law school is academic in nature.
Okay. And then I wanted to also ask about, I see a lot about the diversity statement on the Facebook page. What kind of is that? So for me, it's kind of, I saw some students talk about, they're the first generation here to go to higher education, and they, immigrant parents and that type of story. So do you think that the diversity statement kind of adds a good dimension to the application, something that I should write if I kind of fall into that category of first generation here? Should I add that to my personal statement? I wasn't sure how much of a mix of topics I should also add to the personal statement. Like if I should just keep it in terms of my academic experiences, or could I add in like, I'm first generation here, my father opened up a business in the States, and I had a lot of experience with that business as, when I was young? Or do I kind of keep it as a straight line, one narrative?
I would keep it more as a straight line. If you start mixing in everything, then it can become a little bit disjointed.
Right.
And you don't have that much space. So I would keep them separate. I can't see an obvious way in which like your personal background with your father's family business relates that much to what you did in your grad program, right? Like they're not that connected. So I would keep them separate. Use the diversity statement as a place to talk about that. And the diversity statement, initially, of course, it had a certain intention to particularly be a place for underrepresented groups to have a voice. But the definition has kind of broadened to diversity in general, which could be virtually anything at all. So first generation certainly falls within that bucket. Being from an immigrant family certainly falls within that bucket as well.
Okay. So so I could use diversity statement kind of as different than what's in the personal statement.
Certainly.
Another question I want to ask. personal statement kind of could be the same for all schools, or should I change something for a particular school for that application in the personal statement?
Generally speaking, there's no reason to use different versions for different schools, and that can kind of overcomplicate things if you were to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So unless they're asking very different things, which they typically don't, I think you can
Okay.
typically just use the same one for all.
Okay. Okay. And then I wanted to ask about the addendum for low LSAT.
Sure.
You think that's also worth putting in there?
Well, tell me more about it.
So I studied it a long time for the LSAT, and I think it's, like it's done, that's it. Like, score is what it is, and I don't think it's practical for me to take it again. So I just don't know what people say. I don't want to write something where I'm making excuses for the low LSAT. I did what I could kind of thing. So what more do people write for an addendum for a low LSAT other than, like, what is there to write? Like, where do you start with a document like that, I guess?
Sure. Well, if you don't have much to say about it, then I just wouldn't write one.
Mm-hmm.
Their answer will typically be, well, retake. The numbers,
Right.
The numbers are the numbers.
Right. Okay.
However, if you had low SAT or ACT scores that did not reflect your undergraduate GPA, or let's say for your master's program, did you take the GRE for that?
Yes.
And was your GRE lower than your ultimate grades might have reflected?
Yes.
Okay, so there you have an argument. You can say, I'm not that great at standardized tests. I took the GRE. I was in this low percentile, yet my GPA was much,
Right.
much higher.
Right.
So therefore, my grades don't always reflect my potential. My test score doesn't reflect my potential. Or you could say, I had low SAT or ACT scores for undergrad applications, but my undergraduate GPA was significantly higher than those grades would have than those test scores would have suggested.
Right. Okay. Okay.
There you have a compelling argument, and you could write
Right.
that.
Okay. I think I could, that could work for me. Yeah. Okay. I think, just looking at my notes, personal statement length is usually 2 pages, or is that on the application? Is that detailed on the applications themselves?
Yeah, they will detail it, but a good general guideline is 2 pages, double spaced.
Okay.
And of course, 12-point font, don't mess with the margins, nothing like that. Very straightforward. And I would recommend writing a rough draft of approximately 3 times that length, just free writing it, not editing while you write, and then later cutting it down so that it's jam-packed full of important information.
Okay. I think that's it.
Awesome, Carol. Well,
thank you very much, Steve, for everything.
Of course. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
I think the biggest insight is just clarification of things I had no idea about before. The letters of rec, the personal statement details, just also personal statement, kind of making sure that the point is, you're talking about law school. As you said, it's kind of having a straight line narrative, not going into other things, which I wasn't sure how to structure the personal statement. So your answer to my question about adding in other stuff, saying that it's better to stay consistent with the topic, was, I think, the most insight from today.
Awesome. Well, keep in touch and let me know if I can help in any way moving forward.
Thank you so much, Steve.
My pleasure. Take care. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.